All right, what is going on, guys? I wanted to give you just my real short-term review of the tires that I have on here, because if you are buying a set of rims and tires for your truck, you're probably going to be looking at these because these are like the cheapest mud terrains you can get. You know, at least in, you start getting to larger size rims. So in case you don't know, I am running the 20x12 Archons. And these are the Federal Couragia 3312.5 R20. So I don't have too many miles on these. I'd say I probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 miles, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. I'd say I'm probably 5,000 or a little bit less. So I don't have too many miles on them so far, but I'm just, like I said, there's going to be just a short, short-term review here. I guess we'll start off with the one that people are going to want to know the most, and that's wear. So far, they seem to be wearing pretty decent. I mean, they're not cupping. These tires were up front, so these are my front tires. I just got them rotated. They don't feel cupped. Maybe, no, I would say maybe slightly, but there's no cupping. They still feel nice and round. The tires don't feel out of balance, so they haven't gotten any slipped belts, nothing like that. They seem pretty solid. I don't know. So far, I'm pretty happy with the way they're wearing, but I only have 5,000 miles, so time will tell. Once we get more into it, we'll see how they really wear. But as of right now, really no issues. They seem to be pretty good. Really, with any mud terrain tire, you really want to upkeep on the rotation big time. You want to make sure you rotate every 5,000 miles religiously. Otherwise, you're not going to get the mileage out of them, and these are going to be no exception. You're definitely going to want to rotate on time all the time. Otherwise, you definitely could run into some problems. Durability wise, I'd say so far they've been pretty durable. I have noticed this is nothing really major at all, but if you look, see, I have some peeling spots of my tire. Like I said, these were in the back, so if I did a burnout or I did something like that, driving down a dirt road and drifting, whatever, just if I'm getting the back end to spin a little bit, I noticed that the tires seem to be peeling a little bit. They don't seem like they're the most durable. Once again, it's not that big a deal whatsoever. I mean, if you're doing burnouts and stuff like that, obviously your tires are not going to wear properly. But I just noticed, I take my Jeep out in the woods. I still don't have my Jeep, but I take my Jeep out and do burnout stuff with that, and the tires seem to be holding up pretty well. These, like I said, I've noticed, they just, I don't know, they seem to, the fronts are fine because, I wasn't doing burnouts, something like that. It's not like I do burnouts all the time, but I'm just saying, I have spun the tires free. I have done a couple burnouts, and I have taken out the woods a few times. And I've just noticed that they're just, I don't know, they're just, getting some type of peeling on there. Nothing that major, just something to keep in mind. So if you want something, actually one of them, I actually lost a pretty decent sized chunk out of the tire. I think it was this tire. I think I'm sitting on it. But I lost a pretty decent sized chunk. I mean, a whole corner here pretty much just boom, came right off. So once again, not that big a deal, just something to keep in mind. If you're gonna use it for a bunch of burnouts for whatever reason, these probably aren't gonna hold up as well compared to another mud terrain. Let's get into the noise. Unfortunately, these tires are pretty noisy. These are probably the noisiest tires I've ever owned personally. My Jeep has 35 12.5s on a 8 wide rim, a 15x8. So these, they're not stretched out like these are. My tires are more more ballooned. But these tires definitely are noisy. They're not a lot noisier than my mud terrains on my Jeep. I also used to have 32 by 11.5 size tires on my my old Jeep. Those tires weren't as loud as these. These tires are definitely loud. I'm not sure if it's related to just how wide they are, the stance of the rims, or if it's the design. It's probably a mixture of both. I would say it's mainly probably the design. I mean, if you look, they're just super big gaps. You know, I mean, they're mud terrain tires. Now they have mud terrains that aren't quite as aggressive. You know, I like they look great. You know, I mean, I'm not complaining at all. It's something to keep in mind. You know, they are noisy. Anything below 50 isn't really too bad. Like, yeah, they make some noise. You know, they make some noise that's below 50, but not too loud. It seems to be when you get above 50 miles an hour, like 50, 60, 70, even if you're doing like 80 miles an hour. I mean, like, once you're past 50, they just start getting louder and louder and louder. When you're doing like 70, 80 miles an hour, they're wah, like going down the road. I mean, they're pretty loud. I mean, that's just really just the nature of it. That's just the way the tire looks, and it's going to contribute to that. So if you want something quieter, I would stay away from these tires. There are mud terrains that are quieter than these. I personally don't care because the truck is loud as it is, being a diesel. So really not that big a deal. I could care less. But you know, if you are looking at getting a set of mud terrains, something nice and something quieter, I would stay away from these. They are kind of loud. What else is there to really talk about? Got the price. What are we gonna get the price? We got the price. They're on point. Obviously, you already know that if you're looking at them. I think that's pretty much it. I will say so far they've met up to my expectations in just about every category. I had a feeling they're going to be loud. I had a feeling they would be decent overall, and so far they've been really decent overall. The only thing that I will say that these tires are terrible in, and I don't think it's necessarily the tire, I think it's mainly my stance of my truck, like the rim, is the sand. This truck is absolutely terrible in sand. It is beyond horrible. Every single time this truck touches sand, I would get stuck. And I thought putting, you know, mud terrain tires on, putting, you know, wider tire stuff, it would be better in the sand, and it really hasn't. In fact, I actually got stuck in the sand, and as you can see, I scraped the whole side of my rim here. So eventually I may get the rim repowder coated or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. These tires really aren't that great in sand. I figured they would be better. They're just not. I haven't driven them in the snow, so I can't tell you how they are in the snow. I can say in the rain, they handle pretty decent in the rain. I've only driven it, you know, a handful of times in the rain, so I don't really have too much behind the wheel time in rain, but so far they seem pretty good. Everything seems to be pretty good. I have driven in a little bit of mud, nothing crazy. They did really good in mud. They do good in like compact dirt, stuff like that. But when it comes to sand, I've noticed they're just absolutely terrible. Like I said, it's probably just because of the you know, the offset that I have in my rims and stuff like that, because there isn't a whole lot of sidewall. You know, I mean, I have a sidewall, but it's like straight up and down, you know. It's not really like, it's not really what you want for off-road, obviously. So I'm just going to assume that factors in along with the weight of my vehicle, you know, considering it's a diesel. The motor alone in these is close to 1,000 pounds. So that's probably why they're not the best. So if you're, you know, you want to take your truck on the beach, do some fishing or whatever, definitely don't go with the setup that I have. I would probably stick with maybe even a different brand tire too, because generally mud terrains don't do that well on the sand. You know, you really want to have a good all-terrain, or even like an all-season tire does really good in the sand when it's aired down. So that's pretty much it. Just a few points here. Noise-wise, yeah, they're loud. Wear-wise, they seem to be doing pretty good. You know, being in the sand, they're absolutely terrible. Do not buy these for sand, at least not in my setup. Like I said, you know, these tires may be okay, but not the current setup that I have. And for price, I mean, they're really on point with price. You can't beat them. I mean, you can't find tires cheaper than these that look as good. You really can't. So, all right, that's my little review here. You know, if you're running them, let me know how you guys think, and I'll update more as I drive them. You know, once I start getting, you know, 10,000 miles, 20,000 miles on them, I'll let you know how they're wearing and everything else. But I figured I'd just give you my quick little impression for 5,000 miles, because I've seen people mud terrains and they're shot within 5,000, you know, not 5,000, maybe like 15,000 miles. So these are definitely not my case so far. They seem to be holding up pretty decent with the 5,000 miles I have on them. And I've done about 90% highway driving, not highway, but 90%, you know, road driving. Maybe only 10% of these tires have been off road. So, all right, that's pretty much it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.